And we're back with the breaking news. You're looking at new video showing the suspect, Cesar Sayoc, holding a sign that says CNN sucks, as well as a lot of other nonsense in there. He's at a Trump rally in February 2017. The 56-year-old Florida resident and today was arrested and charged with sending a series of explosive devices, 13 IEDs, to prominent critics of President Trump this week. Sayoc was well known to law enforcement in Florida and has been arrested at least 8 times. CNN's Renee Marsh has been digging into his background. And Renee, his Twitter account is filled with attacks on a lot of the same people he sent the packages to, including CNN.
Exactly. I mean, extremely political social media account. And to your point, Jake, he has negative tweets pretty much for every target that was sent one of those packages. We do want to warn you, some of these tweets are highly offensive, but we are showing them simply because we want to give you a sense of what we're learning about the suspect. So here are some of his tweets. He goes after former President Obama, posting a meme with Obama's head on his wife's body, a meme of Hillary Clinton being arrested by the president and the vice president with the caption "Law and Order" that you see there in the middle. He even accuses Democratic fundraiser George Soros of working with Hitler. I mean, it goes on and on. But again, CNN is tweeted as well. You know, when you go through, you can see he certainly does have a political leaning. The criminal complaint even points out his use of social media. And just a couple of days after that package, suspicious package, was discovered and recovered from George Soros's house, he was also tweeting negative tweets about Soros, Obama, and others. We do know he also had a Facebook presence as well, and Facebook confirms to CNN that users complained about some of those posts, and they actually removed some of those posts, but they say it didn't rise to the level of calling authorities. But we know that he registered for the first time in Florida to vote in 2016. He voted in the 2016 election, and he registered as a Republican. But again, Jake, on his Twitter, you can see he's a strong supporter of President Trump. He tweets at Real Donald Trump several times, even wishing him happy birthday. Right.
No, obviously, he was actually trying to get the approval of President Trump in some of the tweets that he sent to the president. In addition to this huge social media footprint, at least 2 Twitter accounts and on Facebook, he had a police record. One of his arrests in 2002, I believe, was for threatening to blow up a Florida utility, quote, worse than September 11th?
Yeah. I mean, we spent some time going through his background as well. And I mean, he has a string of criminal events going back to the early 1990s. But the most notable is that one in 2002 that you bring up there. Miami police say that they arrested him because he made a bomb threat. His attorney actually spoke to CNN and said that he grew frustrated with this electric company because they turned off his power. And when he got so frustrated that they wouldn't turn it back on, he threatened to blow them up. And I'm quoting his attorney now. He says that Cesar Sayoc said, quote, "I bet if I threatened to blow up your office, you'd turn it back on." I do want to note that this attorney says that he didn't believe that there was any teeth. And there was no, he didn't plan or any intention to actually pull that off. Nevertheless, the attorney confirms he said that. Other things showing up in his criminal history, everything from grand theft, battery, fraud, and drug possession.
Do we know anything about his financial situation or where he lived?
We do know that in 2012, he did file for bankruptcy. And in going through those filings, it lists that he lived with his mom and he owns no furniture. It seems like he was in financial straits because it also says that he owed almost $17,000 in debt. So he owed a lot of money and could not make the payments. And that's all the information that we have in his bankruptcy filing. But again, I mean, we see how everything unfolded today. But to your point earlier, authorities in Florida were familiar with him because this man had many run-ins with them.
All right, Renee Marsh, thank you so much. Joining me now is the former director of national intelligence under President Obama, retired General James Clapper, who was one of the intended recipients of an explosive device, one of the ones found this morning, care of CNN, which it was not delivered. General, thanks for joining us. Put on your Director of National Intelligence hat for a second. What are the most pressing questions you have right now?
Well, I think the first thing is, are there any other packages out there? And I'm sure that's what he's being asked about. And is there anyone else involved, or was he a lone actor? So to me, those would be the two key questions that I would want to pursue, and I'm sure they are being pursued.
So given that he was arrested really just a few hours ago, we know a lot about him, partly because of his social media footprint, partly because of his bankruptcy filing, his criminal record. Given all that we've learned, what sticks out to you the most?
Well, what sticks out to me is phenomenal work done by our law enforcement community, most prominently the FBI, who has taken some hits, unfairly so. And once again, they have demonstrated their tremendous dedication and professionalism, as well as a great New York Police Department, Secret Service, and some unsung heroes and heroines in the United States Postal Service. And I think about those people, those great men and women, and what they did to turn this around this quickly. And I sure take assurance from that, and I think all Americans should.
Yeah, amen to that, no doubt. Sources tell CNN that when the suspect was arrested, he told investigators that the pipe bombs wouldn't have hurt anyone and that he didn't want to hurt anyone. Do you buy it? What does it tell you about his motives?
Well, that's as one of the potential recipients, let me tell you, it is not a fun thing to turn on the television and see a pipe bomb, whether it's functional or not, addressed to you. So I taken a cue from Director Wray's comments at the press conference that these devices were not hoaxes and that they could have been activated.
You said you weren't surprised when a package intended for you was discovered this morning. Was that just because your colleague, former CIA Director John Brennan, had been sent one? What was the reason?
That was principally the reason. I figured that if John got one, I wouldn't be far behind.
In light of these packages, we know federal agencies are now reviewing the security protocols involving former cabinet level and other high-profile officials. Do you think the level of security around you and others like you needs to change? Do you need Secret Service protection 24/7?
Well, neither John nor I got our protection from Secret Service, but I'm sure that's something that will be under review. I'll be candid, I don't feel particularly threatened right now. I have engaged with my former protective detail, and I think the actions they took are sensible and prudent. Now, whether there should be something more elaborate, that'll be up to them to judge. And of course, when you do these things, this has huge resource implications that'll have to be considered as well.
Now that we know who the suspect is, and we know that from all appearances and from what Attorney General Sessions says, he's a partisan, he's a strong supporter of President Trump. You see his social media profile, you see the stickers and the signs that he's held that are hostile to people who are in the Obama administration, hostile to CNN, hostile to George Soros and others. Do you hold President Trump and his rhetoric accountable in any way, for this threat?
Well, first, Jake, I think I have to say that you cannot relate anything that the president has said or done directly to the actions that this guy took. And we won't, maybe that'll come out later and just exactly what his motivations were and what inspired him to take these extraordinary actions. I do think, though, that all politicians are responsible for toning down the rhetoric where possible. And first among those politicians is the President of the United States, who occupies the most influential bully pulpit, not only in this country, but in the world. And you can accuse other people of saying extreme things, but really the leadership for this starts with the President of the United States. He has to set the tone.